Hi, I'm Splashes, and welcome to episode 45 of Minecraft Maniacs. And today, we're going to be doing something a little bit different to start things off, because we're coming up on finally doing the World Tour episode. But I don't just want to visit this world, I kind of want to visit the last world, where we wound up going ahead and building quite a lot of things. Why is there a spider there? Never mind. But we don't have a way to get back to that old world. So one of the things Barry and I have been hard at work at is building this ship here. It is a trans-dimensional time ship. And this vehicle should allow us to be able to travel through time and dimensions to visit the old world. And I think that should be really awesome. So how are your tests going, Barry?
All the tests went well. Everything seems to be working as it should.
Very good then. So do you believe we're ready for our first operational test?
I believe so.
Very good then.
I mean, nothing should go wrong, so.
Hopefully not. Oh, I should make sure to take off
Yeah.
this armor, because we aren't quite certain, but we're worried that some of the effects on this body might involve the armor we're wearing crushing us, and I would rather not be crushed today. But for that, I believe we are ready to head inside the craft and do ourselves a little bit of orienting with the systems.
Yep.
So this is basically our warning light, and it is a fairly small Spartan cabin. We have our chronometer here, as well as our navigacomputer, as well as the ignition system here. And I believe everything should be in order. So let me just set the chronometer, set the navigacomputer. Whoops. Darn it, I keep doing that. Set the navigacomputer, and navigacomputer is set. System should be ready. Computer, close door. And with that, we should be ready. Testing in 3, 2, 1. Here we go. I think we've made it. Let's open up the door. Looks like the craft got squished a little bit and changed a little bit, and there must be some effect of the dimensional transfer, as well as for some reason I am now holding the navigacomputer and the chronometer in my hands. But we made it. We are actually in the old world, and this is so awesome. I haven't been here in so long, and it's really cool to well, I still get to see this tower all the time, but back in this old jungle. I loved this area that we were in. It was gorgeous. I just wish the jungle extended a little bit further, but it's a gorgeous area. But at least now that we know that this thing works and we're able to successfully transfer between the two dimensions, we can head on back over to the current dimension to continue our work on this episode, because we're not going to do the world tour quite yet. So let me get the navigacomputer back in my hands, and here we go. 3, 2, 1. There we go. We are back in our main world. So that was a very successful test. I don't know where Barry went. I guess she got tired of. I guess they got tired of waiting for me. But no, that was an extremely successful test. So we are now able to go back and forth between the two dimensions, which is a wonderful thing. And I'm gonna I'm in a tree. So that is a very wonderful thing. So now we have to think about what I want to start doing for this episode. And I think these episodes are going to start to get a little bit shorter, because at this point I'm kind of struggling on things to do. And I mostly just want to get bits of work done on this base, but I've also been really, really tired lately. And not having energy isn't a very helpful or useful thing. But I would love to get this base finished eventually. So I think what I want to do today is I have that idea that I want to do, where I'll basically cover up the rest of this and have it extend up in towards the sky. And then I'm thinking along these corners, because I eventually want to put little towers in the corners here. Have like archways here going up and over, and I think that should be really pretty. So we'll bring this all the way up, and then we'll make the flat platform, and I think that should be good. So with that, let's jump on into a hyperspeed build mode, and go ahead and build up these little platforms and start extending this center tower towards the sky. And end of hyperspeed build mode, and that took a very, very long time. I thought this was going to be like a 2-hour time lapse, 2.5-hour time lapse, like most of my time lapses are. Nope, it took me like 4.5 hours. And the first part is I finished all the white stuff. It's like, okay, good. I can take a little break. It's gonna be fine. And it's like, you know, I can do the black stuff now too, or the gray stuff here. And it's like, yeah, it's not going to take very long. It'll probably take me like a half hour at the most, right? It'll be super easy. What a fool I was! What a fool! Yeah, no, that took forever. That took me like an hour and a half to 2 hours to get all this black stuff on here, and I kept messing up in places. It was so frustrating and so exhausting. But I'm really loving how this turned out. It's really cool to see like the center tower of this base actually coming together and really getting an idea of how big this structure actually is. Now there's a couple things that I'm not super thrilled about how this turned out. So I do like how these things look, but from the sky, which is probably how we're mostly going to see them, these things come in a little too sharply for me. Oops, that didn't quite go right. So, what I'd like to see is, instead of it coming in so sharply like a point here, because it's supposed to sort of mimic this curve here, and down there, that curve looks great, because it looks, you know, kind of circular. But up here, it's gotten a lot wider, but the shape hasn't really changed. It's still diagonals, and then we have the 3 blocks and the diagonals. So I think what would probably look better is if instead we did something like we have a 5 block across the back and then a 2 block. So it would look something like this, and that should round it out a fair bit more. Something like that across the top, instead of it having come in all the way back in here. And I think that might help the shape a little bit, or honestly, even just popping these guys out here, and this guy out here, and what if I just filled in this guy here? Just do. So it just sort of flattens it out, and now we have sort of a trapezoid shape. And I suppose if we really wanted to, we could even extend this out here. Let me just fly around here and see how that looks for a moment. It's not quite right, but I think if I add in the... Really? Really? Oh, well, that's a pity. And I'm sure the 12-year-old in me is very disappointed that I am no longer on 69 deaths. Oh, I should put my elytra on before I fly. Oh, goodness. Sometimes the fall damage just doesn't make any sense to me. Oh! Did I get everything? I did. So yeah, that still doesn't look quite right to me. Oh, no! Okay, looks like there's something down here I need to get. Oh yeah, there's quite a bit more stuff all around here. Let me just pop these guys on. Don't have my bag. Goodness gracious. These things are so annoying. I should really get some totems. Okay. There we go. Let's try this again. Just switch the position of these two things. There we go. So I think I like that a little bit more, maybe? But let me try with extending these upwards. So we have sort of a 2 flat, and then we have a 3 section in the middle. And we'll take a quick look at that and see how that looks. You know, I think that makes enough of a difference. I think I'm gonna want to extend these blocks here up by 1 each or something, maybe like that. We can do something like that. Let's go over there like that. Yeah, I think that looks a little better. And that sort of rounds out that shape a little bit. Yeah, we'll do that. So we can go ahead and add the 4 things on over there. But one of the things I've been thinking about is we have these big open white sections here. And I was wondering if it might look good if we stuck the little birds in the corners there. Sort of like how we have for the nether portal in the dark gray. Because I think they would fit basically perfectly in there. And I think that might actually look really nice. Of course, one thing I haven't really thought about yet is how big the towers in these corners are actually going to be. Let me just land here for a moment. Because I want them basically to cover up this thing. But if they go too big, then they'll start to cover up the birds. And I'm not sure if I want to do that. And if I do make the birds, then I really don't want to cover them up. But if I don't make the birds, then I could probably make the towers a little bit bigger. Now, that goes about 8 blocks across. So if I made my tower basically 8 blocks on the diagonal, I think that would make it about 12 blocks around. But that would mean that it would be about the width of this black guy here. And then you would actually be able to see the birds, and it would still cover up this area really nicely. And I think that would actually look really nice. So yeah, I think we can go ahead and add the little birds there as to what we want to do. And let me just go ahead and sleep real quick. But one of the things I'm sort of stuck at now also is, what do I want to do with the inside of this? Because originally this level was going to be my storage system. And I've decided against that. I think what we're going to do is put the storage system, we'll make another layer just a little bit lower with some stairs going down, some like spiral stairs around the center core, and that will be the storage system down here, and then we'll have some like little lakes and aquariums and stuff. And I think that'll be really, really pretty. But in this area, so at first I was thinking, well, up higher there's going to be basically a large cylinder that's going to continue up towards the sky. And I was thinking maybe I should build that cylinder down here and continue it up. Because there's a bunch of stuff around here that I sort of want to cover up. Like this bit here, this stuff here, and there's just a lot of edge points that I kind of want to cover up. And so I'm not entirely sure how I want to do that. And I'm thinking what I might do is, oh no, I broke this. Go that way, and that should run into me. Oh, it did. But it came back. I forgot to design that thing actually quite well. And I'm wondering if maybe I should just have... Because I kind of like the idea of having these little arches here that you sort of walk into. But having these big open areas, like getting to see all these curves, it's really quite lovely, and it makes this area feel really big and interesting. And I'm just thinking about all the plants and stuff I could put in here, all the green space. I could make this like a little internal jungle, and I think that would be super gorgeous. Though at the same time, I'm also kind of dreading building that giant interior jungle, because that will be a lot of work. But I do think I want to keep these shapes visible, which means I can't really do a cylinder going up. But at the same time, I kind of want these areas to be a little bit covered. Now, actually walking through here, it's actually not that bad having this area open and exposed. Though I would want to lift this guy up so the archway is open. And I think that'd actually be quite pretty, especially because coming down here we'll have lots of trees and plants and stuff hanging over, and I think it will be super pretty. I just want a way that I can cover this stuff up. Of course, there's also the other option that I could literally just take a white wall here and just bring it straight across the entire thing and just not even worry about it. Just do something like just like this. And just go straight across like this. And I don't know, well, maybe not straight across like that, because that's a really plain and boring fall. But I'm sure we could think of something we could do with that. Some way that we could sort of enhance it. Or even, I mean, realistically, there's going to be stuff clinging to the walls there that will go up, climbing up higher into the thing. And we could probably even take these areas and sort of cover them over with some white concrete, and then have the stuff extending up higher out of that. So, like, these are gardens back here, but you can't really access them. And I suppose that's one thing we could do, but I'm just really not sure right now. And unfortunately, it's sort of hitting me, like, the scale of the amount of stuff that I actually have left to do. Like, the main exterior of the building, I probably don't actually have that much more to do. But the rest of the build, it's really just a lot of stuff left that I need to do. So I'm just, in a way, I'm almost kind of dreading it, and I'm in a strange place that I'm feeling really inspired to go ahead and build or to see the results of this build and having all the trees and greenery and life in here, but at the same time I'm super uninspired to actually build it. So I guess we'll just have to see what happens. But let's go ahead and add the birds to the sides of these buildings, as well as go ahead and do a little bit of repair work on these round bits here. And hopefully that should be really nice. So let's jump into Hyperspeed Build Mode. Well, that was anticlimactic, to say the least. I love the idea of having the birds in those little spots, and I tried, and even after I stopped the time-lapse, I tried several more times, and that area looks really big. But with the colors that I'm using, I don't have any other options except for the dark gray concrete. And you're really limited on what you can make there. And the birds they just looked awful. It just looked terrible. And I honestly think that it's better off being plain like this than having something that ugly in there. Especially considering that eventually there will be towers here, which will cover some of this up a little bit. So I think for now, we're just going to leave it blank. I did go ahead and fix these sections though, so these sections round off a little bit more, which is good. I'm just disappointed about that, about those birds, because in my head they looked so amazing, and even like over here on the portal, they look great. Could I fly? Can you get closer? Could I? Okay, that didn't really make much of a difference. But like even over here on this portal, these birds look amazing. But it's the same size, except I'm not able to have all these little details. I'm not able to have like these bits where you see the head really comes down and the wings go up. It just doesn't quite work. That's really disappointing. It sucks when you have an idea, you can see it in your head, but it doesn't actually pan out because you don't quite understand the scale of things. And that's really disappointing. Well, I suppose I can't really see it in my head, but like, you can sort of imagine it sitting on top of here, or vaguely what it will look like. And it's just disappointing. It's just really disappointing. But I'm still really happy with this upper section, and I'm sorry we didn't upload a video on Friday, because I thought I was going to do all those bird stuffs. And I did not have any energy, and then suddenly I was overtaken by a desire to examine these new netherite picks, because that sounded really exciting and cool, and that was a really fun video to make. But with that, I think we are going to call this episode done. So I've been Splashes, thank you for watching, bye bye!